Hello, my name's Peter. I was born in 1962 and I came down to London in 83 when I was 21. As the CV reads, I joined a software company, which was great fun, and 2 years later I joined the BBC, which was very interesting. I stayed there and then worked for a large film company travelling the world, which was very exciting. And unfortunately, my fortunes changed in 2002, and that's roughly where my East End story starts. The overlay on that is actually only came out when I was 22, so it's the year after I came down to London, and was very fortunate to have a 6-year relationship with the very person I slept with. And that ran its course after 6 years, and again I was very fortunate to meet another person who, again, we had a relationship for about 6 years. That really came to grief because I was spending an awful lot of time outside of the country, and also the pressures of work were getting quite severe. So that caused us to part the ways. I was living in southwest London at the time, in Earlsfield, and so we had to sell the place we were living in, very nice place, and I moved back to southeast London. There I began to feel that things weren't quite right, and it turned out that I was having a very bad depressive episode. So those things combined put me in a very dark place. But I found a new place to live in this fabulous area of London called Bethnal Green, which was great fun. And actually, I'll tell you how I came to come there. There was a group of good friends. We used to meet virtually every day at 79 CXR on Charing Cross Road. And we always used to stand around a little table called the Round Table. So we even had a little plaque there, the Knights of the Round Table. It was great fun. Every other Sunday, there was a great pub down Bethnal Green Road called the Cock and Comfort, which is, as you can imagine, was a gay pub. It's now called the Star of Bethnal Green, so that's the place check. But they were renowned for doing huge Sunday dinners for, basically more than you can eat for a very reasonable thing, and silver service and all the rest of it. And I got chatty with the landlord. I was looking for somewhere to live, and I was saying, because I didn't really know the area, I said, Keith, where's a good place? I found this one here, and he goes, what's the nearest pub? And I go, oh, I don't know. And that's how he guided me to, and how I began to find out about the East End, and that was good fun. So anyway, I moved into this place in 1999. Again, life wasn't going brilliantly, and it was to turn darker. It was in 2002, the depression got so bad that my company had to let me go, which put me even slightly more of a mess, really. But in those couple of years, the pub I adopted as my local was this lovely little boozer down Hackney Road called the Joiners Arms. And I became good friends with the owner, a fellow northerner, whose birthday is exactly 8 years before mine. So that's a curious turn of fate. Lovely bloke called David Pollard. And he'd been there since 1997. And it was going through a bit of a tough time at that point. But he took me on as a barman. My first day on the job was their 5th birthday party in May 2002. And I sort of helped out behind the bar, doing other bits and bobs for David, and started sorting out his paperwork and the finance stuff and doing the payroll and all that kind of thing. And I stayed there for 7 years and saw some changes to the area. And that job had kind of run its course by that point, so I took up the offer of another job as finance manager for a good friend of mine down at the Sun Inn. But unfortunately the economy turned a bit cold and he had to let me go. So that brings me to where I am now. As far as the East End and how it's changed, I think we were pretty much a backwater in terms of gay pubs on this side of Tower Hamlets. I mean, you've always had Back Street, which is a fairly niche kind of market, and the White Swan down at Limehouse. In those days, there was also the Royal Oak on Columbia Road, which was gay-ish. And there was a period, because of the quirks of the old licensing laws, it had a market license, which meant that it could open very early. And you used to be able to do a circuit of leave the joiners after closing times of 2-ish on a Sunday morning, go down to the Spiral Staircase, which is now called something else on Shoreditch High Street. You get kicked out from there. You can either go back to somebody's and chill out for a couple of hours, and then if you really wanted to drink at that time of the morning, you could go down to the Royal Oak. The very early sort of stages of this, going out from Saturday, of going out on Friday night and carry on partying till Monday morning if you really wanted to. I mean, they do that all the time down in Vauxhall these days, of course, but it was quite fun in those days. So yes, it was, say, gay, more gay than mixed, shall we say, in those days. But Shoreditch, certainly in the last 3 or 4 years, has, I think, become a lot more mixed. A word that I'm not particularly fond of, sort of more metrosexual males and that kind of thing. Certainly the fashion industry has had a big influence around here. And to some extent music, but certainly a strong creative current. And so certainly places like the Joiners have become a bit more, certainly a bit younger, or maybe it's just I'm getting older, I don't know. But yeah, it's different. I mean, it was fun then and it's fun now, but really for a new generation of people, if you like. And certainly even places like the Sun and the Star. Again, it's a younger crowd, fairly mixed, but the sexuality is less of an issue, which is a good thing these days. A bit different from when I first came out, which was still, I can never remember which way around it is, Clause 28 or Section 29. I did my bit for the age of consent and that by sitting down in the middle of Trafalgar, well, not in the middle of Trafalgar Square, but on the approaches to it and being ushered away by policemen. So, and you don't really get that kind of thing these days. So I think it's a personal view of mine. I think that you hear so many older people going, oh, they don't realise what we did for them in our day. And I think there is a perception that the battle for equality is won and it's done and dusted, and I'm not quite so convinced about that.